You might have heard of Unreal, but have you heard about unreality? If not, then I don't blame you, as finding a copy off the internet is obscure. Even I couldn't find the German release that looks to contain a launcher for it. Unreality is a shovelware CD that contains about 50 custom levels and a few other things in the mix, because like the box says, it is too unreal for you. Honestly, seeing cover arts for various shovelware discs is a weird relic of the past. It's kinda like plastering CGI on an Nvidia or ATI graphics card, except even more low budget. But did you know that this shovelware CD has an interesting history behind it? So you may ask yourself, what was the origins of unreality? It was discovered that in some special editions of Unreal in France, included an extra level named Faute Land, which is basically a pre-release version of the Vortex Rikers level, but played backwards. However, after finishing the level, the player would be directed to a French website, where you could download more content, which turned out to be entries to a contest hosted by Epic, named the Unreal Design Contest. These entries would have been featured for an upcoming release of the Unreal Level Pack, along with an improved standalone version of the Unreal Editor and the Unreal Mega Pack. All of these were available for pre-order. However, Epic did not release these packs, and as a result of this, these maps were packaged to what would become the Unreality expansion set in late 1998. So for this video, we're going to take a look at this add-on. Now, getting it to work requires the original version of Unreal, and I mean like unpatched. However, I was able to play this just fine with version 2.19. Now, I did run into some hiccups during the making of this video. You see, I was running the latest version of Windows 10, and I heavily relied on DigiVoodoo 2 to get these games working under Glide. However, on DirectX 12, I was getting weird artifacting, which I am not entirely sure if it's the GTX 1050 Ti I have installed or just an operating system issue. Turns out later on that I've heard from a friend that the GTX 1050 Ti has basic DirectX 12 support. I would also try running it on DirectX 11, but it causes the game to stutter for like 5 to 10 seconds pretty frequently, along with some minor stuttering. So after a good amount of troubleshooting on and off, trying to find the cause for this issue, I believe it turned out to be a problem with the operating system, so I ended up revisiting Windows 11 in hopes to make it playable, and it turns out it did on DirectX 11. But the artifacting issue still persists under DirectX 12, so it'll have to do. That is until the problem returned after a while. So I had no choice but to find an alternative until it gets fixed or until I get a better PC overall. I was originally going to use PCEM or 86 box for this video, but the frame rate felt slower than I wanted it to, so I went to VMware Workstation and Soft GPU for this one. While it still feels a bit off under Glide, it seemed more playable under OpenGL. So as a result of this, the single player levels were recorded on VMware Workstation, whereas the Deathmatch levels were recorded on my main PC via software rendering. Anyway, when it comes to shovelware CDs, these CDs obviously lack quality control, meaning there will be some content that is poorly designed garbage and there will be some hidden gems if you dig deep enough. And as a fellow VTuber who likes making videos about games like these, I'd figured it'd be best to go through these single player maps and deathmatch maps. Now, whoever packed the CD renamed the levels and forgot to edit the levels to progress. So that means I would either have to rename the maps on my own or play through the maps manually. At first I attempted to fix the exits, only to learn that few of these maps lacked an exit teleporter, so I resorted to the latter. But under a couple conditions. If I had weapons at the end of the level, I am allowed to summon them back at spawn. The other one is that I won't summon the weapons back if I spawn waking up just like in the Vortex Rikers. And safe to say, the experience was a mixed bag. I mean, of course the first level was decent and ends with a Warlord boss battle, but the next level is what you would call an equivalent of a 1994 Doom level. Like, look at these texture choices. But I guess I'll give this mapper the benefit of a doubt. At least the combat is decent, aside from the dark area making it pretty difficult to navigate. In fact, some levels felt mid and confusing to navigate, but I can see what they were trying to do. Like this level in particular takes place in a spaceship, with huge areas involving a Titan boss fight, and ending with a mini Scar Queen boss fight. Lack of quality aside, I actually enjoyed this one. Although there were a couple of levels I honestly disliked because of how confusing it was to navigate. Like this level for instance. I couldn't tell if it was unfinished or not, but I couldn't find a path to the end of the level, to the point I had to ghost my way to the middle to go to the exit. The last 4 single-player levels were nice to play, but I don't know why they were saved from best to last. Well, I guess that's shovelware for you. Now, is it worth playing the single-player levels? Unless you are curious, I honestly don't recommend playing this one. Like, there are far better single-player levels you should check out at the Unreal Archives. But I will say some of the levels were reworked with the release of the French Level Pack add-on, put together by Wyrex and Leo TCK, and a few others. I was also involved with the project with one of the 3D models I put together for UT being added, and even playtested it before it was publicly released. Now, just like the single-player levels, the Deathmatch level suffers the same fate. There were some interesting levels that were pretty cool on paper, like this one, where you fight in a rather vertically mirrored arena with an elevator to go upwards, and this one level with a spinning fan blade from above. Of course, there are some quality designed deathmatch maps in the mix as well, but some levels do suffer from poor execution, like this deathmatch level where you spawn falling into the floor, adding some varying fall damage to the mix. And also, what in the actual fuck is this thing? A poorly designed moon base? Although, there were some custom weapons to play with, like a laser pointing sniper rifle, a weird but functional quad shot, and a GES flamethrower that obliterates everything in its path. It is a nice touch if you want a bit of a break from using the stock weapons. Anyway, what are my overall thoughts on this pack? As said earlier, you are better off playing the French level pack for this one. However, the deathmatch levels are still nice to check out if you want more levels to play. But if you want even more add-ons, I recommend checking out sites like the Unreal Archive, where they contain add-ons for the entire Unreal franchise. Alright, that about wraps up this video. I have also uploaded this add-on to archive.org. So check it out in the description down below. And as always, peace out.